Okay, so welcome to the shortest lesson ever. Pick a random number from 1 to 9. 7. So we are looking at page 168, number 7. And I'll do this one for free, and then over the next 4 days you'll get the joy of doing like 33 other word problems. Yay, word problems! Woo, my favorite! So what this will amount to is either working from a triangle they drew you, or drawing your own triangle yourself, and then just trying to figure out stuff using the math we've had on hand all chapter. So number 7 says mountain height problem. A surveying crew is given the job of measuring the height of a mountain. And then it says your favorite thing, figure, which means they drew the picture already. So we have a big long ground, we have a big tall mountain, we have people measuring some sort of an uphill climb, and then we have a remeasurement kind of moment. So they say there is a point on level ground that they measure an angle of elevation to the top of 2134. So here's our original people measuring things, and they measure 2134. And then they go for a walk, and they move 507 meters closer. And after they move their 507 meters closer, now the people live here. You don't have to draw people if you don't want to draw people, it doesn't really matter. 3541 is now their angle. They want us to figure out the height of that mountain. So here's the top of our mountain with our flag planted. USA, USA. Question about the concept of what they said in the paragraph, and if we didn't have that picture, you still could have drawn it. Like, it would have been a little more work to imagine there were people measuring an angle and they walked closer and they remeasured again and the mountain is yay high. But if they draw the picture, it is nice. Let's call this triangle number 1. Let's call this triangle number 2 for conversation purposes. I'm going to erase this because that's useless. We don't really need to see that mountain. There's no math to be done over there. To work a triangle out, how many items do we always need to know? 3. If we know 3, we can figure out the other 3. At present, triangle number 1 has 2 items. Triangle number 2 has 1 item. And if you want to consider massive triangle number 3 that ate the other 2 triangles, sometimes that's a triangle we need to consider and do math on. Sometimes there's a big guy that ate the little ones. In massive triangle number 3, we only know 1.5 things in that. So how are there known things in this that we know they're just not labeled yet?
Right triangle.
It's a right triangle. So now in triangle 2, I've got 2 items. In massive triangle 3 that ate everything up, there's also 2 known items now.
In triangle 1, we know the other angle, the bottom.
Okay, so right here, how do we know this angle?
180 minus.
180 minus. So that's 144.19. If you forgot how I did the math there of 180 minus 3541, could someone remind us of how that occurs? Borrow to make this
179
and fill in
60
60, and then that's where that came from. So now which triangle is our friend?
and,
Triangle number 1. How can we do stuff on triangle number 1? Run your ASA program. When you run your ASA program, we'd have this side, which we could write down, this angle, which we could write down, and this side that we could write down. If you want to be safe, write them all down. But out of A, B, and C, which is the most helpful item when we obtain it? Item C. Why is item C the most helpful item? Because it's part of triangle 2. And once we have this written down, what program can we run on triangle number 2? SAA. And if you run your SAA program, you're gonna have the height. I'll leave that to you to run the programs, but that's what we're doing. Question about the concept? Some of these are really, really easy. Some of these are really, really hard. Most of them are somewhere in the middle on a varying range. But here's our game plan for the next lot of days. For tomorrow, you're trying to work the rest of 1 to 9, including the 7 that I started with. Tomorrow's Tuesday. Wednesday, we go 10 to 18. 13 is one that's really, really hard. Thursday, we work from 19 to 25. We don't do 26 because it says to write a computer program. That doesn't sound like a thing. It's basically writing some programs that we already wrote, is what they had in mind, but they were, in the age of this book, they were doing computer programming instead at times. 27 to 34 would be then for Friday, and that's basically our week. It's just sort of a week of, there are no lessons, there are no videos, there's no more information for me to give to you. It's a matter of you utilizing the information you already have learned to do stuff. Okay, so a week's worth of book stuff is where we're going. I gave you the review sheet for the whole chapter. The review sheet for the whole chapter is worth noting. On the front page, there's a couple problems that say program free except quadratic, so I think that's pretty well marked on there. But you can use programs beyond that on the other parts. That sheet would be next week, Monday. And then we'd probably do another sheet for Tuesday. We somewhat possibly, likely, somewhere in that spectrum, do a third sheet for Wednesday. But somewhere toward the end of next week, we would eventually need to dive in and take a test sometime mid to late-ish next week before we move on to a new chapter world somewhere. But that's our...
Would that be
where we are.
on this grade?
Yeah, the test would definitely be on this grade period.
Okay.
The homework all will count on this grade period, and then the new chapter would kind of start the new grade period. We'd probably start the new chapter Friday-ish in there somewhere.
Okay.
Question about upcoming event schedules? Okay, well, we can cut that and answer homework questions, I guess.